You might have seen something like this before on some charts, and you might be thinking, what on earth is this? What are all these numbers? And what is this? What's the use case for this? This is the Fibonacci tool, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly what you need to know about it. So in this video I'm going to be covering what the actual Fibonacci sequences are, how to access the Fibonacci indicator. I'm going to be going through Fibonacci retracements, and I'm also going to cover Fibonacci extensions, and I'm also going to talk through some disadvantages of this indicator. This will be my final video covering indicators on this technical analysis series. So what exactly is Fibonacci, or who is Fibonacci? So Mr. Fibonacci is an Italian mathematician from the 11th century. His real name is Leonardo Bigolo, but we'll just call him Mr. Fibonacci. In the 11th century, he created a sequence of numbers, and this sequence of numbers was widely used in many different things, and it was known as the Fibonacci sequence. And right now I'll just explain what these numbers are to you. Let's start with the Fibonacci number sequencing. What the Fibonacci sequencing says is, starting from 0 and 1, the next number would be the sum of the previous two. So here 0 add 1 equals 1. The last two numbers here, 1 add 1 equals 2. The last two numbers here, 1 add 2 equals 3. The last two numbers here, 2 add 3 equals 5. The last two numbers here, 3 and 5 equals 8. The last two numbers here, 8 and 5 equals 13. The last two numbers here, 8 add 13 equals 21. The last two numbers here, 13 and 21 equals 34. And 21 add 34 equals 55, and so on. So what's the significance of these then? If you did 1 divided by the next number, you get 0.5. Then if you do the next two numbers, so you got 2 divided by 3, you get 0.66. Then if you do the same with 3 and 5, you get 0.6. And likewise, if you keep doing that for the next few numbers, you get 0.5, 0.66, 0.6, 0.625, and then you get 0.615. My point is, by the end of this, the number gets as close to possible as the golden number, 0.618. This is one of the golden numbers, and I'll show you why when we go into the charts. The next thing about the sequence is, if after the number 1, if I was to miss a number and divide it by the next number, for the first one you get 1 divided by 3, and that's equal to 0.33. Then if I was to do 2 divided by 5, again I missed a number here, that's equal to 0.2. And then if I do 3 divided by 8, that will give me 0.375. So all I've been doing here is getting one number, missing one, and then dividing it by the next after that. By doing that, the number will keep on getting closer to a number of 0.382. And similarly, now if I get the number 1 and I miss 2 numbers and divide it by the one after that, so I do 1 divided by 5, that's equal to 0.2. And then if I do 2, miss 2 numbers, and then divide it by 8, that will give me 0.25. And then if I do 3, miss 2 numbers, and divide it by 13, that will give me 0.23. And again, you can keep doing that, but the number will keep getting closer to a special number of 0.236. So these numbers, they're important because these are known as the key Fibonacci numbers. So how do you actually access the Fibonacci tool? With the Fibonacci tool, you got something called the Fibonacci retracement. So if you click on this over here, that's the Fib retracement. But also, just to be aware of, there's something called Fibonacci extension as well, which is this one over here. And in this video, I'm going to cover both of them. When do you decide which one to actually use? So for Fibonacci retracements, you would actually use this to predict when the next retracement would be. So for this to actually happen, you would need to have a trend of some sort. So either an uptrend or a downtrend. You can see over here, there's an uptrend, and you can see that you got an impulsive move over here. You've got a retracement over here. You've got another impulsive move. You've got another retracement. You've got another impulsive move up here. What you essentially want to know is how far the retracement would actually be. So let's just say you only had this line, and it started coming down and you wanted to know how far down it goes. The way to actually use the Fibonacci retracement tool is you click on the absolute low over here. You then put the mouse to the high over here. And I would just drag it this way just so I can see the actual retracement. So going down here, you can see it touches the 0.618 Fibonacci. So you know this is one of the golden numbers. So this is a fairly deep correction. Similarly, you could see this next one over here. This one retraced down to the 0.382 Fibonacci. Now, if I wanted to predict the next one, I would go to this low over here and I'd drag it to the high over here. So you've got different levels over here. And essentially, it could go to any of them, but the 0.618 is a significant one. So I'd expect maybe this one, but sometimes you have to kind of backtest it. You've seen this one went to the 618, but this one went to the 382. So maybe this one again might retrace to the 382, which is about over here. So you can use this tool just to predict where a retracement would be. And that's how you would use the Fibonacci retracement tool. Now I'm going to show you how to use the Fibonacci extension tool. The reason you would want to use the Fibonacci extension tool is when the market's going up like this, you want to see how high the market is going to go. So the way I would do this is I want to predict how high this move is going. So I look before that, and the impulsive move over there, I go from the bottom to the top and down to where the retracement was. And I just stretch it out so it's easier for me to see. And now you can see I've got different levels over here. So the 0.618 would be over here and so on. So I can use this to predict how high the price might go. Actually going to show you both of this on a real chart now. So this is the chart of the S&P 500. And if I start with the fib retracement, you could see you've got an impulsive move here. Then you've got a correction. You've got an impulsive move. Then you've got a correction, you've got an impulsive move, and you can expect a correction to happen here. And you can see this is a clear uptrend as well. So the question is, how far will the correction actually be? So for that, I would go from the bottom over here to the high, and I would stretch it out like this so I can see what happens next. And if I press play, you can see exactly what happened after that. You could see here clearly that the price retraced to the 0.68 Fibonacci. Of course, it's hard to predict that it would go down to this Fibonacci rather than any of the others. But remember, the 0.618 is your golden one. So even if you bought at the 0.618 Fibonacci, you would have done good. That's the Fibonacci retracement tool on a real chart. Now I'm going to show you the Fibonacci extension tool on this same chart as well. Because this is an extension, the price movement has not played out yet, so I don't actually know whether this will actually play out or not. But again, you could see the uptrend, you could see the impulsive move, the down move, the impulsive move, the correction, the impulsive move, and the correction. So if I start with the move before, you've got the lowest point over here, you've got the high over here, and then it corrected to over here, and I'll just stretch that out so it's easier to see. And now if I just zoom out and look above, I could see the 1.618 level is over here. So this would be a really good potential level to take profit on the S&P 500. And you got levels above it as well, which are also Fibonacci levels. That's both the Fibonacci retracement and the extension on the same chart. Let's talk about some of the disadvantages of the Fibonacci tool. So the first thing is you could see there are lots of Fibonacci levels. There's no way of actually knowing which one is actually going to be the significant one. It's anyone's guess. If you were to buy at any of these Fibonacci levels, eventually it would work out on an uptrend, but there's no guarantee that it would come down all the way to here. There's no guarantee how far things will come down. So sometimes it's very difficult to predict in that sense. And that comes on to the next disadvantage is it's a very speculative indicator. It's used by institutions to plan their buys and sells, but it doesn't always work. It works for some, it doesn't work for others. The best course of action, if you were to use the Fibonacci tool, is to use it in combination with other indicators, such as the moving average, support, resistance, to see whether there's a Fibonacci level that would confluence with the levels that you're looking at. And if it does, then it gives you even more confidence going into your trade. Me personally, I don't use the Fibonacci retracement tool. However, sometimes I do use the Fibonacci extension tool. And the reason I use this is because the markets at the moment, it's so high. So for example, if you look at Bitcoin, we're talking all-time highs here. Price has never been this high before. So it's very difficult to predict how high Bitcoin can go. So sometimes I just use the Fibonacci extension tool just to see, what are the Fibonacci levels on Bitcoin, just to see the potential of how high it can go. That's the way I use it, but of course everyone will use it in a different way. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.